Welcome everyone to another CoH2 replay cast. It has been a while, but I am back, and this time we have a 1v1. As you can see, it's on Samoski Winter. We have Makarov on one side playing as the Wehrmacht, and Angel of Death. Such a very scary name, playing as the Soviets, and being a little bit AFK for now. Now, this game was played on September the 8th, I believe, because it was the name of the replay, and right now, as of recording, it's September the 23rd. No, 24th, actually. So you can, kind of guess how long. I have not been actually doing videos at all. Right now, Angel of Death is actually a little bit AFK. We'll see if he actually gets back to the game in any reasonable manner. But yeah, I am going to be a little bit back doing more things actually and stop being a lazy little dick. Well, we see a MG start out of Makarov, and obviously the MG is going to be really good on Samoski Winter. Talking a little bit about the map, it is obviously a very decent 1v1 map, but you have to be always very careful of the ice and very careful of the cutoff points here, and the two very easily harassable fuel points over here and over here. This building is very important to both sides. So now we finally see that Angel of Death has come back from having his coffee, and he's actually going to build a support weapons company. Support weapons company, obviously a pretty decent choice on this map because there's a lot of buildings in the center. So if the enemy decides to get a lot of machine guns, a mortar is going to be really, really important. Two conscripts coming out of him, obviously really important for map control. So I definitely agree with that decision. Now on the left side of the map, we see that Makarov is going for some Grenadiers. Grenadiers also going to help with the map control, and also with the long-range engagements. Obviously, Grenadiers do very well, especially in buildings. Grenadiers usually out DPS conscripts because obviously, usually in a building, there's only 3 or 4 windows, and so the Grenadier squad size is pretty perfect for that. Now we see that the Pioneers are actually doing some capping in the south along with the Grenadiers, and in the center we have the machine gun covering pretty much a whole lot of nothing because right now Angel of Death is still kind of stuck in his base. We see that he's going to go for a Maxim machine gun. The Maxim is going to be decent, however I feel like with the terrain of the map, sometimes the MG42 is simply going to out damage the Maxim and sort of out trade it in every encounter, but oh well. We will see how the Maxim works. Now, Angel of Death might be looking to get a lot of conscripts, which would be pretty decent with the Soviet Reserve Army for the conscript assault package and the rapid conscription. Also with the Soviet Shock Army, also has the conscript assault package. Guard motor coordination is his other doctrine. It doesn't have any bonuses to his conscripts, but later on it will allow him to supply himself with a 120mm mortar, which is obviously an amazing little weapon on this map. However, also really the main appeal of this doctrine is the T-3485, which on this map it can work on the top end of the map, but on the sort of bottom side, T-3485s kind of struggle because of the terrain. It's pretty hard to get a good flank going with them, so you can kind of guess why they aren't that great. Now we see a mortar coming out of Makarov, excellent choice in my opinion, because obviously he's going to need that. He's also getting the Tier 1, or rather Battle Phase 1 upgrade, which is going to be pretty important because he's going to need that 222 scout car fairly soon, or perhaps even a flame half-wreck. Now we see that the conscripts are getting suppressed, and they're just trying to cover for the Maxim. Maxim manages to get in the building. We do have a second conscript squad over here kind of hidden by the hedgerow, but I'm not sure what they're trying to do. There's no Molotovs right now upgraded for these conscripts, so I don't feel like a flank on this machine gun is going to be very successful. But we do see that the conscripts are trying to make for the fuel point, and that would be a pretty decent choice, especially if you can capture this building. He's going to be able to hold at least the point in a decapped state. Now we see that the Maxim is getting encircled by German units, and that's not good. It's probably going to get at least smoked out, actually, by the mortar. Excellent usage of the smoke, pretty much shutting down this Maxim machine gun completely. Not something that you see every day in such a quick fashion after the mortar has hit the sort of range. Now we see a rifle grenade being fired into the building. I feel like that was a bit of a mistake. And good usage of the Pioneers just to keep the machine gun guessing as to where the attack was coming from. Machine gun is going to have to be retreated out of the building and will manage to survive thanks to it being retreated quite early comparatively to what he could have done. Now, we do see a couple of conscripts trying to keep the cutoff point under the Soviet control, but unfortunately for the Soviet player, there are really no points that he's got under his side of the map, and a conscript squad will go down from Makarov. So that was a pretty big blow for him. Now, let's actually just fast forward a little bit because there's not much going on. Now, Molotovs will be upgraded. Obviously, on this map with all the buildings. Oh, no, another conscript squad going down. That is really bad for Angel of Death. He's going to really need to improve his map awareness and his unit preservation because otherwise, I don't see a bright future for him in this game. Now, we do see on the left side a attempt from these engineers to actually decrap this victory point, which is going to keep the Soviets in the game. They need to keep their VPs up. We do see a replacement sort of purchase of 2 conscripts, which are going to be pretty decent, especially with the Molotovs in the building-filled area of the center of the map, especially with all these wooden buildings. They can catch on fire relatively easily, and we do see that these conscripts are in a pretty decent position to flank the machine gun if some unit comes in to distract it from the front, which would be done by this Maxim, ideally. Again, I would really like some mortars out of Angel of Death, but right now he does have the Soviet Shock Army, which means that he does have the 120mm at his disposal. Now, on the other side, we do see that the Spearhead Doctrine is available to Makarov, so the Tiger and the Mortar Half-Track are available to him. Also, with the Panzertechnician, it's going to be pretty good for the survivability of his vehicles later on. Speaking of vehicles, he does have the Tier 2 on the field. No actual units purchased out of it yet. He's got 50 fuel, so he could actually get a T-22 Scott car once he has the manpower for it. But considering the units that he sees right now, perhaps that's not too important. Now, we see that a bunker is actually being placed on the right side of the map by Makarov. The Grenadiers over here could have just gotten in the bunker, honestly, just to get some cover. And yeah, now they're going to get in cover, and they're going to get Molotovs probably. Yep, Molotovs coming in, and on the left side we do see a little bit of a building fight. And Maxim is going to get flanked by a bunch of Grenadiers and German infantry squads, so that's not going to be too good for that Maxim. And on the right side, the Molotov will actually deal quite a bit of damage to the bunker because obviously it's wooden. However, there is a MG42 that's been upgraded on the bunker, and in fact, the suppression might save this Grenadier squad from a horrible fate. In fact, instant pin, the other conscript squad gets retreated, and that was very, very close for these Grenadiers. Close call, but not close enough for the Soviets, clearly. And right now, good usage of this one Grenadier squad that's not upgraded and not vetted, distracting the machine gun for the vetted MG42 squad to actually completely destroy it from the flank. Vet 1 Maxim is going to go down. Unfortunately, he was not paying attention. So Angel of Death losing a critical asset over there. And we see that a 122mm mortar has been called into the fray, and he might try to use it to destroy the bunker. But I feel like he's actually attack moving it. Yeah, I feel like that's an attack move. That definitely looks like an attack move. I mean, it's okay. He knew where the bunker was, though, so he could have just clicked the mortar barrage. And in fact, he's going to fire one shell and then retreat, even though he could have kept firing because he's a weapon team. Weapon teams keep firing when they're pinned. It's only the crew that does not fire. So it's essentially kind of useless to retreat a pinned weapon team. Now, we do see that the normal mortar from the Germans is probably working on... What is it attacking? Shooting in this general direction. I would expect it to be hitting here. I do see some mortar shell holes over here, but okay, I'm not sure why you would barrage over here. Like, there aren't many reasons for Angel of Death to station units over there. Now, the Soviets do have a sort of loosening grip on map control. Essentially, they have one fuel point, and that's pretty much the only point that they have, and that's kind of useful to them. Now, the shock troops kind of wasting time over here. Capturing the munitions point instead of the victory point doesn't really make any sense because right now you do not have the connecting point to this munitions point. So obviously, if you capture the munitions point, you aren't really gaining anything for yourself, and you're not really subtracting anything from your opponent because you can just neutralize it and then go on capturing the VP. Especially if you can send some units, as he's doing, to capture this point, hopefully. That would be pretty important. Now, we do see a 444 out from Makarov. It's a little late for a 444, but I feel like, considering the unit sort of composition that Angel of Death is going for, it's kind of justified. He could have an ET gun because he does have the tier 2, and Makarov knows it. However, with the purchase of the shock troops, Makarov knows that there's a lot of manpower that's been sunk into this one unit. Obviously, 390 means that an AT gun that's 340 is kind of less likely. Now, the shock troops are very, very vulnerable to the scout cars, and they're going to get completely demolished and forced to retreat. In fact, they might actually get wiped if the 444 chases. Yep, the 444 is chasing, and both the scout cars are chasing, and there's a road over here, which means that the scout cars are going to be even faster chasing these shock troops. Nice body blocking with the armored car. He could have actually done a little bit better job over here, but the squad does go down, and there is a 120mm mortar in a pretty exposed position. Angel of Death is going to retreat it, which is fairly smart. He's also gone for a fuel cache near his base, which is a pretty decent decision, but I feel like at this point he needs units more than resources. And in fact, the AT grenades should be going out right now on these armored cars, one on each, just to allow the conscripts to escape. In fact, one of them will go out, and the second one isn't going out. I mean, there's 140 munitions available to him, and unfortunately, this one conscript squad chooses the wrong retreat path, or rather, the from the frying pan into the fire retreat path. I feel like that's pretty much what that was, right into the jaws of the grenadiers from the scout cars, and the other one will choose the frying pan, but he will get completely fried by the scout cars. Yeah, I feel like this game is a little bit over. There is a Su-76 coming out on the field for Angel of Death, but the Su-76 is actually not a counter to the 444, because even one scout car, if used correctly, can pretty easily circle around a 222, rather a Su-76, and easily take it out. And I feel like the main mistake that Makarov is doing right now is not going for this fuel point. He could have gone for this fuel point so many times in this match that I feel like right now Angel of Death would not have any chance to actually get that Su-76 out. He is going for the support armor core, which means that he's going to have the access to the Panzer IV and the Ostwind, which are the best choices that he could do right now. The Panzer IV obviously being the much more safe one. Actually, Su-76 will take a engine damage, and the two scout cars are repaired by these Pioneers, so they will be launched against the struggling and limping Su-76. And I feel like since the Su-76 is actually backing himself into a corner, it will make it even easier for the scout cars to actually find them and take him out. Now, Grenadiers will be probably forced to retreat by these conscripts, which is to be expected, and actually they will go down from a random Su-76 round. Interesting. Yeah, 222 Scout Car standing a little bit still in the face of the 76mm cannon of the Su, but in fact, a AT grenade will destroy it. I'm not sure as to why he sent in only one Scout Car. The second one was a little bit late to come in, and this Scout Car should definitely be continuing its sort of circle strafing job. Right now, he does not have the AT grenade available to him, so Angel of Death doesn't really have a choice in dealing with the Scout Car. The Scout Car could have easily just circled around. The rear armor of the Su-76 assault gun is very weak and pretty much completely vulnerable to the 20mm autocannon of the Scout Car, so I'm not sure as to why Makarov decided to stay sand and just kind of leave his enemy a little bit of a breathing space to repair his Su-76. Of course, right now, Angel of Death should really get out an AT gun and get out some conscripts just to contest some map control. He's only got 2 conscripts. Right now, his unit preservation really is his most glaring problem, because if he wouldn't have lost all these units in just ridiculously stupid ways, he would be in a much better position right now. He would have a lot more resources to work with, and right now he would have more map control as well. Good job by Makarov actually taking this field point from the enemy, and there is a 120mm mortar trying to force away the German units from it. 120mm mortar hasn't really been used in the really correct way. The 120mm mortar's place is really where there's a lot of static warfare, for example, in the center of the map, not in the north. The north is the most mobile area of Samosky Winter, and so obviously you'd want your more mobile units there, such as your conscripts and your Maxim, which can fire over a pretty long distance into open areas to suppress the enemy. Instead, he's keeping that in a very useless position. It's not really doing anything over here, and that's really, really bad when you're losing this hard to have units idle that aren't really doing anything. Because if you're ahead, it's still bad to have units idle not doing anything, but it's not as terrible. You're not really... well, you're slowing down your victory, but you're not sort of causing your defeat. If that's your... that's a pretty decent analogy. Like... right now, this machine gun is pretty much only been mortared. That's the only thing that this machine gun has done this entire game. And right now, he's found it again with his Grenadiers, and he will avoid the spot. He will just avoid the spot for just longer. So Wehrmacht player not really hindered by the machine gun at all. Now, Panzer IV is on the field. Two Su-76s for Angel of Death are a pretty decent counter to that Panzer IV, but the Panzer IV can counter everything else. So yeah, that's a bit of a problem, especially considering that there's only 80 victory points out for the Soviets. I feel like it's going to be over a little bit soon. 222 Scout Car actually doing a little bit of a reconnaissance mission up into enemy lines, and very lucky to actually not get sent into the water. Su-76 is actually trying to surround the Panzer IV, but they will be surrounded themselves. The Su-22 Scout Car will go down to one Su-76. One Su-76 will go down from the Panzer IV, and we do see the Grenadiers just, yeah, that will be the end of the game. What are the biggest mistakes of both players? Makarov not really going for the harassment on the field point enough, not really scouting on what's going on in this area. You should definitely, on this map, always try to get at this point or this point of the enemy, because it's a little bit like the jugular of the enemy. Like, if you take this point, all these points get decapped. They all get, obviously, cut off from your supply line. So you want to harass this point as much as possible. And if you harass the point and you find out that there's a fuel cache, you can send in your 222s to take it out. 222s are very good at taking out fuel caches, and he could have done that and deprived the enemy of even that little bit of fuel income. Also, Makarov did not really choose a doctrine until late into the game and still did not use his doctrine. Ostrupin, I still feel like he could have gone for the Tiger doctrine, either the Spearhead or the Assault Support. He had both of those. But still, he didn't really need a doctrine at that point, so it's still pretty decent. Other than that, I don't really see any big problems out of his play. He kept a couple of Grenadier squads alive, even a fairly vetted one, despite the fact that there wasn't really much action going on for these squads. He kept pretty much the entire center afloat with one mortar and one MG, because his enemy was a little bit too defensive on that end. He could have brought up his 120mm mortar and shelled this church to oblivion, but he didn't do that. He did not harass the right side enough. He just kind of kept it for granted that Makarov was going to have units there with this bunker just sitting there. He could have easily taken it out, and he didn't do that. He could have gone for mortars earlier instead of waiting for the 120mm, and he could have gone for perhaps even a better doctrine. I mean, the 120 mortar is good, and the ML20 howitzer is also pretty decent, but this doctrine does not really give you that many options later on. I feel like his lacking of an IS-2 doctrine really hurt him. I mean, you should always choose an IS-2 doctrine if you're going any 1v1 as the Soviets, because the IS-2 is really, really powerful. It's one of the best tanks that the Soviets can get because of its sturdiness and its pretty decent anti-infantry firepower. But right now, he kind of lacked anti-infantry. He had one Maxim, and every once in a while, he had one shock troop, which he lost, and a few conscripts upgraded with Papashas, which is not good enough, especially on a map that rewards long-range play and long-range engagements. I still feel like he could have gone for a lot more of a balanced unit outlook. He could have gone for a T-70. He could have gone for more flamethrowers, which would have helped him out in the center. He could have gone for more mortars. He could have gone for guards, even. Guards sort of combined with penals if he fancied himself a tier 1. All these mistakes kind of added up, and in the late game, he would have still been a little bit of a disadvantage, even if he would have survived the mid game, which he didn't, because he didn't have enough sort of flexible counters to this Panzer IV, and he did not have enough VPs. Simply put, 500 to 0, pretty easy. GG, well played. I hope you enjoyed the cast, and I'll see you soon.